The Red River War was a sad and tumultuous time in American history. It happened from 1874 to 1875, lasting over a year. The war was fought in the vast lands of Texas. Native Americans and the U.S. Army fought each other fiercely. The U.S. Army wanted the Native Americans to move away. They wanted them to go to designated reservations. Reservations were areas of land set aside for Native Americans to live on. Many Native Americans did not want to leave their ancestral homes. The Native Americans fought back against the U.S. Army's forces. They wanted to protect their land and their way of life, their culture. There were many reasons why the Red River War happened. This conflict, which took place in 1874 to 1875, was a significant event in the history of the American West. It was a culmination of years of tension and broken agreements. One reason was that the U.S. government broke promises it made to the Native Americans. Treaties that were supposed to protect their lands and rights were repeatedly violated. The government had promised to give them land. They did not keep their promise. Instead, settlers encroached on these lands, leading to disputes and loss of territory for the native tribes. Another reason was that the buffalo were disappearing. The buffalo, which roamed the plains in vast numbers, were a crucial resource for the Native Americans. The buffalo were important to the Native Americans. They used the buffalo for food, clothing, and shelter. Every part of the buffalo was utilized, making it an essential part of their way of life. Settlers were hunting the buffalo almost to extinction. This not only threatened the Native Americans' food supply, but also their cultural and spiritual practices. The U.S. Army was sent to force the Native Americans onto reservations. These reservations were often far from their ancestral lands, and lacked the resources needed for their traditional way of life. The Native Americans were angry and frustrated. They decided to fight back. This resistance was a desperate attempt to preserve their land, culture, and way of life against overwhelming odds. There were many battles fought in the Southern Plains during the late 19th century. One of the most significant conflicts was the Red River War, which took place between 1874 and 1875. Among the many battles of this war, the Battle of Palo Canyon stands out as one of the most famous and decisive. This pivotal battle was fought in September 1874, marking a crucial turning point in the conflict. The U.S. Army, under the command of Colonel Ranald S. Mackenzie, launched a surprise attack on the Native American camp nestled deep within the canyon. Employing a new and ruthless tactic, the U.S. Army aimed to cripple the Native American resistance. They targeted the Native Americans' horses, knowing that these animals were vital for their mobility and survival. Without their horses, the Native Americans would struggle to hunt, travel, and wage war effectively. The Battle of Palo Canyon resulted in a significant victory for the U.S. Army, dealing a severe blow to the Native American forces. This victory was instrumental in breaking the resistance of the Native Americans, leading to their eventual surrender and relocation to reservations. The Red River War ended in 1875, marking a significant turning point in the history of the American West. The U.S. Army had won, but the victory came at a great cost to the Native American tribes, who had called the plains their home for centuries. They forced the Native Americans to move to reservations, stripping them of their ancestral lands and their freedom. The reservations were often in poor condition, lacking basic necessities and far from the fertile hunting grounds they once roamed. The Native Americans were forced to live a very different life, one that was dictated by the policies of the U.S. government rather than their own traditions and customs. They could no longer roam free and hunt buffalo, a vital part of their culture and sustenance, which had been decimated by overhunting and habitat destruction. The Red River War was a disaster for the Native Americans, leading to the loss of their traditional way of life and the fragmentation of their communities. They lost their land, their homes, and their way of life, leaving a legacy of pain and displacement that would be felt for generations. The war is an important reminder of the importance of keeping promises, as many treaties made with the Native Americans were broken, leading to further mistrust and conflict. It is also a reminder of the devastating impact that war can have on people's lives, altering the course of history and leaving scars that may never fully heal.